Hello, how's everybody doing today? This will be very short today. Basically, 8-4 angles of elevation or depression. It's just a quick little skill that we use to continue what we've been doing, solving right triangles, whether we're looking for a side or looking for an angle, okay? So basically, we're going to be really brief about this as far as our idea. Our idea is basically at a horizontal, always measured for the horizon. So horizontal. And what I say is I think about the dotted line here being your eyes. Okay, those are your eyes, if you will. The pilot there, he's looking basically dead across there. Okay, um, and from the eyes down makes an angle of depression. This guy sitting here in this tower here, his horizontal line is this dotted line right here, and from his eyes up makes an angle of elevation. That's the end of the lesson. That's basically it. Okay, from the eyes down makes angle of depression, and from the eyes up make angles of elevation. And you need to know that because in a word problem, obviously, they're going to say angle of elevation and angle of depression, and you need to be able to label that properly and use that properly. Okay? So for example, so let's go ahead and just label these guys. Um, Angle 1 right in here. If your eyes are on the top of the tree looking across, from the eyes down, that must be depression. Okay, angle 2, this guy right here is looking across here, his eyes, and up, so elevation. Okay, then he looks at the tree and down, so this number 3 must be depression. Then over from the ground at the base of the tree, there's a little groundhog or something looking out from the bottom of the tree. And from the eyes up, so that must be elevation. Okay? And it's just that simple. Now, the nice thing about this is we get a lot of horizontal lines with transversals, so we know from our past experience in geometry, for example, this guy is congruent to this guy, and we use those because those are the lines. If those lines are parallel, let's say, then you've got alternate interior angles, and we'll use that a lot. Okay, so for example, in this picture here, angle 7 is an angle of depression. Okay, and angle 6 for the guy standing on the rock from the eyes up is elevation. But don't forget that angle 7 and angle 6 have the same measure. Okay. Angle 5, the guy standing on the rock and then he looks down, so that's an angle of depression. And angle 8, the top of this tree there's a little bird in the top of the tree looking across, so from the eyes up, elevation. And again, angle 5 is definitely the same as angle 8, alternate interior angles. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and try a couple of these problems with this. Okay. And it's real simple as far as, there's nothing new as far as our skills. It's just the vocabulary that's in the question, right? So the Seattle Space Needle casts a 67-degree or 67-meter shadow. Okay. So a 67-meter shadow here. And let me pull this down here a little bit so you can see the picture full. Okay, and then um, here it says the angle of elevation from the tip of the shadow to the top of the Space Needle is 70 degrees. Okay, so they've labeled your picture here, saying right in here is 70 degrees. Okay, in this corner angle here, this is 67 meters. They're saying how tall is the Space Needle? X, right? This guy right here. So we've been doing this for a few days now. From this angle, this is the opposite from the 70-degree angle, and this must be the adjacent. Opposite and adjacent makes TOA. So the tangent of 70 degrees equals, I'm looking for a side, right? So opposite is unknown over the adjacent, which is 67. My answer is going to come out in meters. Just multiply through there, and the Space Needle to the nearest meter is 184 meters. Okay? So we solved, again, we solved for a side, so we don't use the inverse button. We only use the inverse when we're solving for angles, right? All right, let's move on. This guy here, let's take a look. There's that tree. He's 11 feet tall. Find the length of the rope, the yellow rope. So let's label that with X. This is basically an angle of elevation of 41 degrees right here. So now, again, we're still doing what we do. We got opposite, hypotenuse is unknown. Opposite and hypotenuse make what that must be the sine. So, right? So the sine of 41 equals the opposite, 11 over x. And we go, okay, x equals 11 over the sine of 41 degrees. That number turns out to be 16.77. And they asked us to go to the nearest tenth of a foot. So let's call that approximately 16.8 feet is the length of the yellow rope. Okay, 16.8 feet. Okay, try a couple more here. We've got escalators 50 feet long, and it rises at an angle of elevation of 30 degrees. So you need to know that I'm putting a 30-degree angle right here at angle A. Okay, how far are A and B apart? So here's the adjacent. Here's the hypotenuse. Adjacent hypotenuse, they make right? So the cosine of 30 degrees equals x unknown over 50 feet. Okay, we go ahead and do a couple punches in our calculator, and that guy is done. Oops, I forgot to hit that button here, so real quick. So cosine 30 times 50 feet, 43.3 feet. Okay, last one here, last one. Um, person is standing 20 feet from a sculpture. Okay, so here's our man. Okay, standing 20 feet from the pig sculpture. Okay, their eyes to the top of the sculpture is 19 degrees. So the angle of elevation is right in here. Okay, to the bottom of the pig sculpture, its base is 10 degrees. So how tall is the sculpture? Well, this red line here gets chopped up into two pieces. I'm going to call this top piece X from here up, right? This area here, and this guy right down here is Y, this bottom part. Okay, so there's two triangles here. In this top triangle, this is the opposite over where the pig is. This is the adjacent, because again, here's my right angle. This must be the hypotenuse. In the bottom triangle, again, the 20 feet is the adjacent. This is again is the opposite, and over here again is the hypotenuse. So again, I'm looking for the opposite in both of these. So it goes from here. We got the tangent of 19 degrees equals the opposite, which is unknown, over the adjacent, which is 20. and I get x is approximately 6.89, and so 6.89 there, and the tangent of 10 degrees, the depression, is x over 20 again, and oh, excuse me, y, I should say. I gave that a separate label, didn't I? Y, okay, so y is 3.53. Add them all together, and what do you got? 10.41 to the nearest foot is 10 feet. Okay? So again, we're just continuing what we're doing, finding sides, finding angles, but we have this angle of elevation as far as terminology. From the eyes up is elevation, and from the eyes down is depression. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.